Are you running live already?
Now just another minute. Oh, Jack is.
Oh, okay.
Alrighty, getting ready to start here, guys. Just try and keep silent until I say hi, we're live on the air. I'd appreciate it.
Bobby boy, stay here while Mommy picks up free cheese, okay? This will keep the sun out of your eyes. Be good now.
Alright, don't you fucking move, you little shit machine. Okay, Mama's gonna try to score.
What the hell? Excuse me, who's watching these babies?
The fat one's watching the little one?
Oh, nice parent. Leave them out here like that and see what happens.
Yo, fuck you, you fucking square!
Keep on trucking.
Did you hear that fucking guy tell me how to fucking raise you? Motherfucker, man. What does he fucking think he is? What's the worst fucking thing that can happen to you? Stand in front of a fucking store, right? Fuck. 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 Fuck.
Fuck, fuck, fuck. Motherfuck, motherfuck, noise, noise, noise. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Noise, noise, noise. Smoking weed, doing coke, drinking beers, beers. Rolling fatties, smoking blunts. Who smokes the blunts? We smoke the blunts. Rolling blunts and smoking.
Let me get a nickel bag.
Last.
$15, little man. Put that shit in my hand. If that money doesn't show, then you owe me, oh. My jungle love, yeah. Oh, we oh. I think I wanna know ya. Yeah, what?
What the hell are you singing?
You don't know Jungle Love? That shit is the Mad Notes. Written by God herself and handed down to the greatest band in the world. The motherfucking time.
I mean, the guys in that Prince movie?
Yeah, Purple Rain.
That shit was so gay. Fucking 80s style.
Hey, never say an unkind word about the time. Me and Selpa model the whole fucking life around Morris Day and Jerome. I'm a smooth pimp who loves the pussy. And tell me here's my black man serving. What?
What'd I tell you two about dealing in front of the store? Now drop the kid and peddle your wares someplace else, burn boy. And for the record, the time sucked ass.
Uh-oh, I think Laz got lost. The intro is over.
I know. I'm on the other side talking. And I lost you over there.
Yes.
Shoot, what do you got?
Well, have you any cover today of about when the dragons are gonna be put into the game?
We can go over that. I'm planning to actually just talk about the new stuff that we definitely know is coming out in release 21, which is going to be
You mean really?
fishing. 22, I'm sorry. Thank you. Which is fishing and instruments. We, of course, hope to see dragons in this past release, but of course they were having some issues, and again, they're hoping to put it in release 22. We have no updated news officially on that as of yet.
Yeah, just to know if it's worth to learn the taming and to make all the colors in front, and because it will take a huge amount of time. And
Well, what I would suggest is you take a trip and go visit the Phoenix. And after you visit the Phoenix, then you can make a semi-decision on whether you think that's going to be worth your time. Because the Phoenix is a mini-boss, is that correct, Jack?
Yeah, the Phoenix is the mini-boss. The same way that the Troll is. The Undying Troll, or Unbeatable Troll, is actually just a mini-boss. It's not even a boss. It's just a mini-boss.
And if you've seen or experienced the Phoenix yet, you know that the Phoenix will touch you once and turn you to toast. So if you think that's tough, take and think about that times 10. And I think that's about how dragons are going to be. Whether dragons are ever tameable or not, that is another story in itself. We don't know whether there's just going to be 1 or 2 dragons in the world, whether there's going to be just one. We don't know just yet.
well, we have a hell way to go then.
Yes, we do. I think you're quite ambitious by thinking about that ahead of time. That much I'll give you.
Yeah, you never know. At the start, it might be easier.
But of course, now's not the time to really get started, because you won't have these skills once we go to release. You'll have to start that all over once we hit release again.
Mm-hmm.
So I would suggest working on those skills, learning what the ins and outs are of them, and this way, when we actually do the final wipe, you're ready to rock and roll and go out there and kill everything and tame everything that you want.
Cool.
But until then, yeah, we're about as in the dark as you guys are. The only information we have is the same information that's on the forums and in the newsletters. And speaking of newsletters, this week we had some really great information and great announcements. Fishing for Mr. Winfield out there. Fishing is finally coming in R22. And there's going to be all sorts of great stuff. You're going to need bait for your fishing pole. You're going to have a casting ability. So they're going to have a bait, hook, and bobber combination. They haven't explained whether you're going to have to rig that up yourself or whether that'll be automatically.
Yeah, one of the interesting things about there is where they actually talk about the depth of the water and whether or not it's going to be conducive to fishing.
Absolutely.
And that's actually kind of weird, because they say you can't fish in a swamp, but then at the same time they're going to let you fish right at the shore of the water. And I'm pretty damn sure that there are fish inside swamps.
Right, but they've said that that's just not going to happen right off in this release. They're going to have things like catfish and other muck-sucking fish in the bottom of swamps, most likely.
As long as it's not like the old school UO where it's like I had that water tile inside of my backpack and I could fish inside of that.
Yeah, no, I doubt we're going to have anything like that, but that was funny back in the day. And that was just one of the unused tiles that got all funky that you were able to pick up off the ground.
Yes, but that was a long time ago. Yeah, I had a few water tiles, I had a few placeholder tiles, and a few other things I probably shouldn't have had.
Yeah, I think we've all had that once or twice in the day. I'd like to thank everybody here for joining us today, first off. Go ahead, Jack.
Now, it's kind of cool in the fact that there's, with the pseudo-realism that they're implementing with fishing, with the not just the baiting of the line, but the casting it, and that's going to be kind of like the way the fireball spell works right now. And then after that, you've got the little timer that's going to click on by, and during that time you have a chance to cast, or you have to actually recast. The real question becomes, will you actually be able to reuse your bait, or is your bait lost every time you cast?
That'll be a good question. Knowing our developers, you'll probably have about a 50-50 chance of your bait being reusable. Knowing those guys.
Either that, or they should actually make that one of the skill trees. Within the skill tree is kind of like a bait salvaging.
Well, you don't have much of a chance to say. I mean, I can understand salvaging a sword or something that you have physically in your possession, but a worm floating around in the river, if it gets off your hook, the chance of salvaging it by chasing it downriver are probably slim to none.
Well, as you become a little bit more proficient, maybe you learn how to actually get that...
Secure it to your hook
secure
better.
It properly, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So that way it doesn't go floating off.
Oh, I can definitely see them doing something like that. May actually have to shoot that off in a commentary to them good folks.
Yeah, and later down the line they do plan on implementing like seasonality and time of day differences, so you'd catch different fish at dusk and dawn, even when it's raining, and so you'll end up having all kinds of different freshwater and saltwater fish, and be able to actually have fishing competitions eventually. And for the role players out there, that actually will be a beneficial thing, the ability to actually...
Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to that. That's going to be quite the interesting thing to see. Leaderboards, we're hoping, are going to be the intro to, of course, message boards.
Yes, and I'm waiting for that mail system to come online, especially the ability to mail an object.
Now, they haven't actually said they're going to give us that.
Well, they have talked about actually implementing a mail system, and so the next logical step is to be able to mail items.
Correct. Now, have you played with the Mail Quest by any chance?
Yes, I have. I have run all over the world. Retrieved my 50 gold per, or whatever it was, per letter drop. It's relatively simple. It's like you're just told to go talk with the town crier in different cities, and then you just run from one to the next, and sometimes it's where you actually want to go, sometimes it's not.
Gotcha. So you go to them and they tell you where you're going next, basically.
That is correct.
Quite interesting. I have yet to do that. Now, with fishing, of course, when we spoke with Richard a couple weeks ago here, he gave us some insight as to how you're going to obtain those worms. And, of course, that's got to do, of course, with harvesting and tilling the land, which I thought was quite the fantastic idea for that stuff. And you go out and you till your land to prep it for whatever your harvest is going to be, and
then you look for after a rain for all the worms to surface, and then you pick them up.
Now, of course, that begs to question, can you use something like soothing rain to speed that process up? Where you actually summon the rain over your crops. That would be quite interesting to see.
That would be really funny if the rain emote worked for the water.org charity.
Well, that would be funny. That would be funny. To help speed up that process. Of course, I would think that would be a bug.
Well, as soon as they actually reduce the rain emote from everybody having access to it to only the people that actually have purchased either the water.org set or the rain emote individually, it would only work for them.
Right. Now, I am actually wearing the water.org shirt from Relics by Rid this afternoon. Relics by Rild. I'm sorry, not Rid. I don't know what my tongue was thinking. And Relics by Rild, some really great swag for you folks out there, and we still have a couple things to give away, so we may give something away here during today's show. And they got all sorts of stuff. We got hats, we got glasses, they got patches, they got t-shirts. All sorts of great stuff. You should go check them out. I see Jack is posting links. You want to throw that in the other? Oh, you already did that. Never mind.
I'm faster than
Never mind, lads. That's the great thing about having a partner. So one guy can do one thing and another guy's doing another thing, getting things taken care of.
Yeah, as I keep on reading this email, I'm like getting excited. I know what's going to make a lot of people really happy is the musical instruments.
Now, the musical instruments, yeah, as I wanted to talk a little bit more about the harvesting and stuff, but we can move right on to the musical instruments.
Okay, well, let's stay on harvesting for a little bit. So some of the player-owned housing, that greenhouse, and then within the player-owned towns, one of the NPC buildings is actually a community garden with a greenhouse as well. And those all have flower beds that are already in them. And if you're going to be harvesting worms, that's the perfect place to have your own little worm farm.
Now, this is going to be where, you're saying?
Well, one of the community buildings for player-owned towns
right.
is essentially a farm lot. And from there, it already comes with flower beds. And some are inside the greenhouse, some are outside. There's
okay.
two long ones outside the greenhouse, and then a few inside the greenhouse. And if you think about like raising worms, that becomes the perfect place for it.
Well, I would have to worry about that because if it's going to be inside the greenhouse, of course you get no rain in there.
You have an ability to water plants, I'm sure.
Well, that would be the next good question. Who was it I was talking to? Somebody was telling me that they took a visit down to the office. One of the other guys I was talking to, when he was down there, and through his visit, he saw a little something about plants on the whiteboard. And in the different stages of growth, and he said he was just absolutely fascinated by the fact that's what they were planning was literally, different stages of your growth of your plants. So you don't just plant something and it automatically just becomes something. It's actually they're going to plan on
caretaking and farming as an actual
caretaking, exactly. The weather taking into effect how good your crops might be. Of course, Richard has told us that they plan to eventually have things like apple trees and cherry trees and trees that can be harvestable as well for fruit. So it's really great just to see the systems that he's talking about coming into effect. With the seasons, in the fall, you're going to have more windy weather. So will the windy weather, damage some of your plants compared to in the summer where it's just more straight sunshine and, nice bright days.
So that's where the greenhouse actually does become a lot more a protected environment.
Now, I don't think I've actually seen this lot that you're talking about there.
I have one in one of my towns. Don't ask me which one, though, off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've only played with a couple of the lots and stuff, of course, because, again, For those who know me, know that I don't spend a whole lot of time playing with that stuff here in pre-alpha. I work the mechanics. I learn the mechanics. Of course, as we look for answers for the folks who asked them here, we try and find those answers by figuring it out ourselves. For the most part, you don't catch me out there leveling and going crazy every single release. Some releases you'll find me at a high level. Some releases you'll find me at a low level just because I don't see doing it over and over again before release. And that goes for my towns. My towns just made their appearance this past release. And I just don't expect to want to try and move people in and get people situated yet, because we're going to get wiped again, and there is no rhyme or reason to how I want the town laid out just yet. I've got a good idea, but that's something that I'm going to wait to be seen, because of course the people who are going to live in the town are the people who should have the most say, in my opinion, and not be forced to live in a house in a plot where maybe might be the only thing available, and I could actually put a lot someplace else for them that's more favorable to their type of living. Now, Idiot Noob asks, is there MIDI support for an input to play instruments? And of course, that's something we're getting to, but I guess since people are wanting to know about that, we will go ahead and segue into instruments here. Let me scroll down to instruments. Now, on instruments, I don't think they said anything about MIDI support.
Now they did discuss two different ways to do it.
It's ABC or MML format that they're going to be using, and it's going to be sort of like books. Is the only way I can liken it to you right now. At this point, Idiot Noob. Books you can either type directly into a book in game, or you can import it from a text file that you've already got formatted on your hard drive. The understanding here is that we'll be able to have an ABC or MML file on our hard drives, and we will just click on the instrument and pick from that file. And the real great, wonderful, absolutely fantastic out of this frickin' world part is that you could have the same MML, Jack can have the same MML or ABC file, and one of us can be the leader of the group, and we can all load it up with different instruments, and when the leader of the group cues it, all 3, all 4, all 5 people start playing the same file in unison on their respective instruments, which is really going to make this something else, where you're actually going to be able to see people get up on a stage, or wandering minstrels. You can have a quartet or a trio wandering around. They cue up a song, and as they're wandering around, all 3 of them are playing the same song in unison to actually make the song sound fuller and sound like 3 people are playing it, which actually just absolutely blows my mind. And does not surprise me from our developers. Everything I would expect from these guys, plus some, is coming here. And so what's your feelings on this, Jack? Are you prone to be an instrument player here in this game? Are you going to practice musicianship?
I have a musical ADD, and just like whenever I'm listening to songs in my MP3 queue, I'd like to hit next. And so I do that way too frequently, sometimes 5 seconds into a song. So I'm not going to be one of those guys that really experiments with instruments as far as playing around with it. One of the things that Rick Holtrop did say in his little blurb about musical instruments is that we'll actually have 2 full octaves of notes, sharps and flats included.
Absolutely, that's the other caveat.
Playing
is you can actually freestyle. If you actually know your notes and you are musically inclined and you know what an octave is and you know what your notes are, you can actually walk up to piano, and by clicking on it, you can actually use keys on your keyboard to simulate and to send the appropriate notes to the piano or to your lute or to your flute or whatever instrument it is, and you can freestyle it. You can write your own music. The great thing, I hope, is that we're not going to have dun 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 playing everywhere all over the damn place, like we did in UO. Every time somebody wanted to play an instrument, it was the same damn song over and over and over.
But with the ability to actually also automatically play a song, you'll just have to copy the files into a specific directory within your Shroud of the Avatar folder structure, and then from there, if you just /play and the name of the song, then it should start playing. So that's actually kind of cool, which will actually help those that are musically inclined. I am not musically inclined, but this is stuff that's actually provided to the community by Iniko. And so this is another one of those crowd-funded efforts. So we have to really thank Iniko for actually making this a reality within Shroud of the Avatar.
Absolutely. Now, Weebler, I still haven't figured out how we're going to pronounce that. Weeble wobbles, but they don't fall down.
Weebler.
Yeah, I know. I'm busting his chops. He's asking, of course, about the skill system here. Are you or have you covered what we all seem to have learned? What we all seem to have learned about the whole skill system. I'm not quite getting that.
Since Laz and I are not spending most of our free time going out and trying to learn everything we can about the skill system, since it's going to be revised again, more than likely.
And that's
played around with it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we've played around with it a little bit, but we haven't gone into some of the detail that some of the others. Now, the pool was actually only for people that had leveled it up beforehand. So that's where that becomes a fallacy. That was only provided to us as experienced players, so that way we would be able to level back up a little bit faster.
And test out the system for the developers. If you came in and you bought a pledge brand new on the 31st and you hadn't played the game yet, you came in with 0 pool. So that's just FYI for you.
Yeah, so
remember, we are in pre-alpha.
Yeah.
And a lot of this is still testing. And when they drop in a major system like this on us, Jack and I already know that there's going to be several revisions before it's even close to finalized. And even once this core system is finalized, you may still see them tweaking the math, as Chris likes to call it the math stuffs, well on into the release afterwards to tweak it out even more fine-tuned. And on to the other question you asked about the music being similar to the Lord of the Rings. Yes, they likened it to the system in Lord of the Rings as well as another game. And let me see if I can just pull that out of here real quick because I'm looking at this. Yeah, no, that's the only one I see right there. It says, many of us here have long enjoyed the musical instruments that available to players in games like... I don't know what it is with that and you.
Me and Mumble don't get along, you know that.
I know. You tried running it as administrator?
Yes.
I had to ask, you know that. I had to ask.
Before from the server, then sometimes it will also randomly disconnect you, and I think that might be what it is. Because remember,
banned from the server.
Remember early on when we had the shitter, and I was the first one given permissions to put people in the shitter, and so the first thing I did was toss Zeke into the shitter. I don't know if you were on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember the day the shitter.
Yeah,
I missed
I
the
was
shitter.
the first one. I was the first one to ever throw Zeke into the shitter. But
yes, you were. That's right.
yeah. But then we ran to like, okay, let's test some of the other systems. So it's like, okay, what happens if you get banned, and then from there, so that and the dislike of, hey, you can't idle and mumbles or else I'm going to kick you. And so.
Hey, Ronald Trump just made his first piece of armor and critted. Congrats, Ronald. I don't think he's in this room, but congrats to him anyway. He's shouting it out.
Yeah, pretty much all of the first armor pieces that I made were also crits.
I hear a lot of that. People go, well, man, I went ahead and tried crafting armor, and man, I critted on my first 2 hits. Of course, that may be the enticement. You know, the first crits are free. The rest, they make you work your ass off.
Yeah, I mean, critted armor, I think you should actually have to level up some beforehand, because no one makes perfect armor the first time they try it.
And Weebler is might be in your best, maybe not, to mute the stream and unmute Mumble so you can actually talk to us in here, so we can have some easier banter between.
Yes, we do invite conversation while we're doing stuff, and if you disagree with what we said, like Weebler is saying that all the hidden XP goes into a pool that later gets used. It's like, if that's the case, then where's my pool? And why is my mining being leveled up so fucking slowly when it used to be maxed out? Oops, I accidentally closed out of the message while I was checking for my mail. Did I get dropped again?
Yeah, I hate that shit.
See, TeamSpeak doesn't happen to me to TeamSpeak unless my internet connection actually shits out.
Which happens quite often as well these days. I don't know, I've been lucky lately. My guys have been okay.
Last night I actually did upgrade the firmware on my the monitoring program for my solar panels.
Right,
and
right.
I think that's what's causing the broadcast storm, and since then I don't think I've seen the internet connection drop. Okay, so...
Yeah, you mentioned that it was giving a lot of static to your network. But anyway, moving on.
But, okay, so currently in-game, and for the last 6, 7 releases, the, maybe more, the introductory scene was Solace Bridge. And that was the introductory scene for the longest time. And now they're saying that that was never supposed to be the actual introductory scene, that it was actually supposed to be Blood River.
Oh, I did not know that. Now, of course, Blood River is a new instance coming into the game in Release 22. And
a solo map?
I'm sorry?
Wasn't it a solo map?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It's a single-player solo map. Of course, going to be interesting to see if they transition to that.
And I believe it was the last hangout where they actually said that that was supposed to be the introductory scene.
Now, did they go into depth saying that they were going to actually change it, or they were going to leave it alone? I don't recall catching that myself.
I think they've got too much invested in Solace Bridge and Soul
In Solace
Town.
Bridge, yeah.
Because it sends you back to Solace Bridge to find other stuff and return it. So it's like they've already got several mini quests related to Solace Bridge being the introductory scene. So I think maybe it might be better off for them to actually just leave the Blood River Massacre as a single player instance and by itself. But then,
Yeah, I would tend to concur with you on that.
But at the same time, Solace Bridge needs so much overwork as far as the introductory, because players should actually be given the choice. Okay, kind of like in UO, where you were given your first choice. One of the first choices was, okay, what kind of weapon did you want to use? Was it, and then from there they gave you 30 skill points in it, and then and some basic tutorials and beat on the training dummy.
That was a way later edition, though.
That was very early on.
Really? I remember just being slotted into a town and here's some basic gear, figure it out, chump.
Now, all my experience was at your starter screen, you got to pick 3 different skills that you wanted to start off with, and then it went ahead and filled your backpack with whatever the relevant stuff you needed to get started was. That was always my experience.
Right.
Yeah, well, of course, I can't really remember what I did over 15 years ago.
Now, of course, I would like to see that here because it really annoys me. And I'm a swordsman. I like to use the swords. But it annoys me for the fact that they stick you with swords the minute you walk in, and it's already a given. Maybe I picked up a club the first thing I saw when I got here. How do you know that I got swords? So of course, they give that to you because the minute you're sitting there, you can't leave Solace Bridge without picking up a sword. But they should give you an option to pick up one of your choice of weapons, and then when you pick up this first weapon, it makes that choice for you. I think that would be the really great way to solve that problem.
And part of the dialogue should be choose your weapon wisely, and then from there, it should, here's the practice dummy, and then there should be the question: did you want to reset this and choose another weapon?
Yeah, allow them to play around in Solace Bridge before they actually get in the game. To test what they like, see if they like the animation, see if they like, how many times it's funny. I run into a guy who's playing a female avatar, and I go, "Why are you playing a female?" Well, she's a lot cuter to look at than a male avatar is. Yeah, and I know it's a running joke, but I definitely get it. The same thing. You like to test drive something before you actually stick skill points into it. I think that would be something we might want to drop on them, and also just as hey guys, how about this? Have y'all thought about this yet? And see what they got to say about it.
Yeah, but Chris has actually indicated that they really do need to give the introduction and how to play the game a massive overhaul. So that is something that maybe some of the new guys are going to be working on. And this is actually going to be the first scene from Esteban Steve, what's his other nickname? Z and something else. The guy with way too many nicknames.
Yeah, that was funny.
We'll just call him Bob from now on.
Yeah, didn't they tag him with a new one right there on the spot as well the other day?
Probably. But this is
I have to go back and look at that.
Yeah, this is one of the first scene that he's worked on, so we'll see how it ends up looking.
Absolutely.
And the screenshots
absolutely.
that we actually have in our email is actually really good.
Everything I'm seeing here so far, I mean, again, the general consensus of our population is, as much as we really like to see release, and this is for anybody who's still got the question, why don't we have a release date? We're in no rush. The general population believes that if we just let them take their time, they will build it right instead of building it half-assed. As well, Richard Garriott is a firm believer that because he does not have a publisher to deal with, and we are his bosses, that he would rather us have the product that they believe they can deliver than trying to rush the product to market for a firm release date. And I believe that we have a 95+% in his favor on that fishing, we're going to see. Fishing was the one thing we all kept saying. Don't keep bothering them, because then you're going to get a Friday patch job. And it goes back to an old joke, is you got a Monday job and you got a Friday job. Friday job is done half-assed because everybody wants to get out for the weekend. Whereas on Monday, you got a better chance of getting a better product because, they've got time and they're just passing the time making the product. So we don't want a Friday patch job where, they're just going to hand us something and say, okay, here you go. And as we're seeing, we are getting what we've patiently waited for. And I'm absolutely loving this shit. Have I said I love this shit lately?
No, you haven't.
I love this shit. Yeah, now the scenes here, here's another horse.
You're looking at the pictures of the scenes right now?
Yes, I am. Now, they look a little dark and eerie as well. I don't know if that's just a screenshot on itself, but it'd be nice to see an overall scene that just has that gloom and doom look the whole time, where you don't ever actually get full sunlight. And it's always overcast. I see the smoke and the fire is here in these scenes. And those could be the cause, of course, for the effect. It looks like you're seeing a lot of low-hanging fog and just smoke throughout the whole scene as I'm looking through these pictures here, which are absolutely fantastic, like you said.
Yeah, for some reason it's not capturing my window properly.
Let me see if I can pop these over there for anybody watching.
Yeah, it's
No, I'd have to drag the whole page over.
Yeah. And for some reason OBS isn't doing the window capture properly.